scontagini per Midfield, Pirlo, la conclusione in rete, Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, Alex, Del Piero! Sulla fermata di Pogacar, Pogba, rete, un gol incredibile, Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
No, we're not looping this again. Oh, good Lord. Ciao tifosi bianconeri. Hello and welcome to episode 320 of the TurinGiants podcast. We are live on YouTube roughly 10 minutes after the calamity in Como, the collapse in Como, the crash in Como. I'm opting to title this Clueless in Como because I think that more accurately captures what we just witnessed. I am your host for this disappointing recording, Kevin, and I am joined by a very disheartened, angry, frustrated Frederic. How are you, my friend? Buona
Keep
domenica.
going with the adjectives. Buona domenica, Kev. Keep going with the adjectives because it's holy shit. I'm so I don't know. I wouldn't call it a reality check because the people that view us more often than not, and even on Bepe's show, know that I'm not the most positive, outgoing person when it comes to all things considered Juventus. But I was really hoping, and I got up this morning with the idea like, I hope they'll surprise me this time because I've been predicting a loss for like 2 weeks now. And I was really hoping, let me be wrong, you know? Let me have a fun midday match. Let me see my team fight and win. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's hope so. I was proven absolutely right. And that reality check hits me harder than any other thing could. It's honestly it's disheartening, to be honest.
It is, and thank you. We see user 77. Thank you for joining with us post match, laughing through the pain. Well, I'm glad you're laughing. I'm glad you're laughing. I am not. I think like we're obviously coming a bit unscripted and unstructured to this episode, given that the match just wrapped up, but figured no better way of just sharing our raw and kind of unstructured thoughts and emotions coming off of the back, which was a very poor performance. Before we get more into it, obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for joining. This will also be posted to all podcast platforms, and we'll have a video element on Spotify. We appreciate a 5-star review, a post, or a subscribe, a like. Appreciate all that fun stuff. But this is not fun stuff that we're talking about. So, Frederic, we at halftime, we exchanged some messages in our WhatsApp group, and the word that you used was hopeless. I chose to look at and interpret the first half slightly differently. The beginning was poor, no doubt about it. We were still in the locker room when Kempf scored. Whether that was Di Gregorio's fault for not owning his box, whether it was Kalulu's man, Koopmeiner's man, we were asleep and they caught us flat-footed, and it took us about a solid 15 to 20 minutes to wake up. And I thought at the end of the first half, we looked the better side. I think we were creating more. We were moving forward. I think if we had remembered to put on our shooting boots, the halftime may have yielded a different result. But still going into the second half saying, hey, if we can tighten things up, come out with the momentum, there's a chance here to at least not lose this match. Boy, was I wrong. What happened in the second half?
That's the thing that, made me send those hateful messages. Pardon me, Kevin, if my messages came across a bit blunt. That wasn't my
Not at
idea,
all,
nor
man.
was it my. It was just that's when I knew when it went wrong because you have all the prerequisites of getting fired up, in my opinion, because you play a game that's maybe worth 6 points in the long run. Let's be honest here, because everything in the top is so close together. You see your competitors losing points. So this is the ideal moment to come out all guns blazing. And I'm not saying you need to get the result locked in the first 20 minutes, but you need to show something. But we came on the pitch. I don't know. We didn't even enter the pitch the first 20 minutes. So this is something that annoys me because due to that fact, you get the goal in very, very quickly. So coming from that and then seeing the team grow, but not being overly dangerous, because as you said, we didn't have our shooting boots on, that doesn't make me that much positive looking at the second half of things to come because we were better, but we didn't create anything substantial. Then what we do is we enter the second half and we choose to do the exact same thing we did in the beginning of the first half. That was just not show up, no intensity, no rhythm, no planning, no yeah, can you call it grinta? I don't know what you want to call it, enthusiasm, whatever.
Mhm.
I mean, there isn't like you have a apart from our quality issues concerning staff, players, management, coach, we all know that they're there. But at least, put in the effort because you never know. If you're hungrier than the other team, a ball might fall in a good way. You might, take the lead unexpectedly. You can defend the lead, it doesn't matter. But you didn't see anything of that. And at the end of the day,
Mhm.
take an analysis and zoom out the Juve world for a minute. I think it's safe to say we have a keeper that doesn't stop any shots or not as good as he is supposed to be. We have defenders that lose their game and that lose their opponent in our own um, penalty area. We have midfielders that are a bit moi and don't excel at anything, and we have strikers that do anything but score. We have a coach that every possible choice that he makes 9 out of 10 is wrong, and he prefers to leave a striker that you need with the characteristics you need in this game to leave him on the bench for for 90 minutes, which you've paid 45 million for. And you have a staff surrounding the coach that doesn't make the players more physical or make them run better, faster, or whatever, but makes them more injury prone. I
So
mean,
the headline, I imagine, coming out of this is going to focus on Tudor and whether the faith remains in him to be the coach of the first team. And Mohammed, thank you for your question. Can you see Tudor staying at Juve anymore? I think we have to get right to that point, right? Because I think like that is the punchline. That will be the narrative, and we should just dive right into that. And I'm sitting there watching the second half, and we referenced that the end of the first half was better. We were creating. I think we were in more of control. We had a rhythm. Again, our ability to finish off attacking plays with a quality ball, with a shot on target, with a nice finish was poor. And that's been an issue with Juve for more than just this season. That stems to last season as well. Coming into the second half, if it doesn't turn around and you continue just performing without any outcome, you have to change something. And it was very clear that it wasn't getting better. And I think everybody's looking at their watch, looking at the time continually tick up towards 90 minutes during that second half, wondering what's he going to do? He had no ideas. No ideas. And then what does he do in a team that has a Como side with intricate, tricky, tidy passing that can get up the ball quickly through the midfield? You take off the guy who controls the ball the best in our midfield, who, albeit Locatelli, did not have a great game.
Nope.
And then you put on a tired and jet lagged and slow McKennie, and you go down to two midfielders, and then we concede immediately, trying to put out a 4-2-4. Tudor had I'm concerned that he can't read a game. Maybe I'm being too harsh.
No,
He's
you're
been
not.
playing
He
this
can,
game since he was a boy, right? But
but
I'm concerned that he can't read the game and understand how to adjust.
he can
Where
read
were
a
the
game, and
ideas?
I'm not. I just want to make this very clear. I'm not on the Tudor out mobile yet. Not in the sense that I want him to continue, because if they fire him on national TV right now, I wouldn't give. But, and this is the main question for me, for I don't know, 4 seasons in a row, Locatelli has been the pillar of our midfield. Some are pro, some are contra Locatelli. But if we just for a moment zoom out and place Locatelli in the midfield that we had, let's say 8 years ago, consisting of Pirlo, Vidal, Marquisio, Pogba, he would be Lemina 2.0 in terms of hierarchy, if you understand where I'm coming from. But
Yeah, I
now
mean,
he's
like
our only
we had
hope.
players like Potaween and things like he'd be someone off the bench. He'd be a
That's
rotational
what
squad
and,
player. Yes.
and that's what I mean. And he still is a rotational squad player. Locatelli is not the player that you need, especially in this midfield. Locatelli is not the player that's gonna make the difference. I agree to that extent, but he's the only one we have
Mhm. Agreed.
who's capable
And that's
to
not his fault.
produce something.
Like
No, of
that's
course
the
not,
player he
because
is.
it's not hatred towards him,
Yeah.
but it's the fact that we have mediocre players and we try to give them responsibilities which they can't handle. We expect them to carry the midfield, to carry our forward strikers, to carry the defense, but our players are not capable. And we can change Tudor tomorrow even, and we might see a hint of optimism for the first coming games and enthusiasm, but that's going to fade away really quickly once again. So the question that irks me is, if we have an unbalanced team with not enough quality players, what is sending off one coach in order to get another, what will that do? Because I concur that he lacks vision, he lacks critical analysis towards, let's say, the physical side on the pitch and the way things are
Mhm.
executed. But, in the long run, Locatelli's not going to become Iniesta. David's not going to transform into Trezeguet. Di
No.
Gregorio is not going to be the second coming of Buffon. And I understand that, there are ups and downs in the football world and sometimes, but we've been stagnating for 5 years. When is enough going to be enough? When are we going to build at least a team that's balanced? Because this team is so completely unbalanced, it's not even funny anymore. We choose to keep players that we paid 45 million for in a striking position on the bench, while we have no idea what to do with the midfield. Because if you put our three midfielders together and you can make a fusion out of them, you wouldn't even create one proper midfielder. Let's be honest here. So if we don't change everything once again, or we let Komoli change everything, it's gonna be the same. And we played Como, and that's
Yeah.
where I fault Tudor. We played Como. You don't need Zidane, Trezeguet, Del Piero, Cristiano Ronaldo to beat Como. If you prepare this game and if you can read the game, and you should have intervened during that first goal already, not maybe with a substitution, but you could see that we were unfocused on the pitch. Give give responsibility to your captain. Tell him to wake the guys up. Do whatever you can. Just do something. stop with zonal marking first and foremost, because I mean, it's every corner kick is a half a penalty. Every corner kick spells dangerous chaos. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't see that, you can't remedy that, then you're not in the right place. And granted, if you get Tudor out, you get somebody who's tactically more savvy. We get a lot more points in. But then you reach the end of the season, and then what do you do? And that's my main issue. What do you do? Where is the long term view? Because I'm fine with sacking Tudor. I'm even convinced that if they fired Tudor today, and our good friend Zach, who couldn't be here today, is in charge of the technical side and or the formational side or whatever, we'd gain a lot more points. I'm honest to God, not because I know Zach or he's my friend. I just know he has a lot more insight formation wise tactically than
Mhm.
Tudor does. But what are we gonna do after that? Where are we gonna intervene? There is also nobody who comes forth and says, look, this year is gonna suck. We have to do what we have, but I promise you, we will be competitive next season. We will bring our midfield up to par. We will make sure that this X, Y, and Z, not in player terms, but in terms of restructuring, will happen. We have a plan, we have a vision, regardless if we have Tudor or somebody else. We don't have that. I mean, every ounce of pressure is put on Kanan. And you could see today that
Yeah.
Kanan's not ready for that because
He's
he
carrier
can't do
of the
everything
world.
by himself. And there,
He is.
there's going to come a point that he's going to say, guys, I've had it. Goodbye, because this is not for me. Because I give 110% every game, but where are the rewards? Where's my return on investment? You can give out an assist, you can score a goal, but if in the long term you don't win any trophies, if you don't get recognized as one of the best players in that position, I wouldn't blame him if he goes to Premier League. Also, you've seen it today, again on the
Mhm.
left flank. He is a number 10. Can you please open your eyes and put him in a number 10 spot? And
But
granted, you
what's
don't have
interesting is he
Tigrova, but
does like for Turkey over the international break, he was playing on the left side. But I would also attest that that Turkish side would beat Juve. It's a nice Turkish side, so he's got more players around him, so it allows him to show his strengths on the left side and cutting in. But
he gets the
neither here
ball a
nor
lot
there.
more as well because he has to,
Yeah.
at Juve, he has to come back to the left wing back position to demand the ball from Kelly or Cambiaso in order to touch a ball. Just seeing that gives me like a mental error because it shouldn't be the case that one of your best attacking players drops down that far back in order to get the ball. That means that your midfield is not providing him with the passages that he needs in order to be offensive, creative, or dangerous. And
Mhm.
if you, as a coach for Juventus, I mean, we're still talking Juventus. Granted, we went downhill for a couple of years, but we're still Juventus. And if you, as a coach, can see that there's something wrong inherently in that, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you anymore.
So let's take just a moment to pause and thank those of you who have joined us following that awful display. And you can tell that we are not in the best of moods on this Sunday. RB Comps, Anthony, Luca. Luca, we met, I think, outside the Inter match outside the stadium. Nice to have you here. User 77, Zach, our friend. Nice for you to log in here. Hope all is well. And Havard and Theodore. Havard, I want to look at your question specifically. In previous games, we never stopped believing against Inter and Dortmund specifically. Today, we never believed, sadly. So while that may be true, and I think we always expect a level of intensity and grinta and just a professional approach to all matches, and I think it's fair to say that we did not see that same level of intensity or desire, particularly in the second half. I think that comment, whether you intended to or not, calls out a much bigger issue in that we started the season with 3 wins and now we've just hit our sixth match without a win, 5 consecutive draws and now a loss. And In those first 3 wins, we had a decently convincing performance against Parma. We struggled against Genoa, but pulled it out in a match that I think we deserved those points. And then the crazy game against Inter, followed by an even crazier game against Dortmund, albeit ending with a tie. Those games, aside from the first match against a lowly Parma side, we haven't convinced in any. We're 9 games in total across all competitions, I think, 9. And we've convinced in one game, the season opener at home against a side that will probably struggle to stay in Serie A. Every other match, it's been poor. And the grinta, the desire, the intensity is only going to work so many times. You can't have the Fino alla fine ending in every single match. And if today was going to end up yielding anything, that's exactly what it was going to be. And it didn't happen. So it gets back to the point that we're talking about here around, is Tudor up to this? Can he read the game? Can he learn? Can he organize this subpar squad into a unit that gets the best out of these players to compete? And the challenges, which Frederic, I think, highlighted very well, and I know we have a lot more joiners here, so thank you for joining us just live. But there's so many different elements to just that one question, right? The one question being, is Tudor up to this challenge? Is he worthy of being the Juve coach in this moment? But there's so many different elements to it. It's just, if you look at, and if you don't zoom out and you just look in context of him being a coach of these players, there's a perspective and something to unpack. There's also the element of, do we have the right players, and are they performing up to expectations? Then there's the element of, well, this is the 5th season in a row where we've been experiencing this. The problems go so much deeper, and does making a change to a coach really change anything? Right? And what are the right expectations? And there's just so many different layers to this. And the simple question of, should we keep Tudor or not? I don't know if it matters. to be quite honest, and like it's that's what's so tricky about this, because it's not a simple point of, let's find the right coach. And that's
No,
why
it
I go
isn't.
back, and then I'll pause for your reaction. It's why I was never really on the Allegri out bandwagon. And I know that's going back a bit far, and maybe even pointless to this conversation, but Allegri wasn't the issue. Right. And this continues to show itself that it's structural, it's deeper, it is what is our project. It is how our management and our board is structured. It's, are we buying the right types of players? Are we valuing them in the right way? Do we have the right system, not in terms of what we deploy on the field, but system for Juventus, the entity, to put together a winning side and get back to where we need to be. And the coach is an element, albeit an important element, but just an element. And someone like an Allegri, with his professionalism, is able to shield some of that out and cover up for some of the shit that goes on. And I'll be the first to admit, I'd rather him be in on the bench right now with these players than what we had with Malta last year and what we have with Tudor now. It's a pointless conversation to have. But my point being that the coach is just an element, and I don't know. I'm just going to stop, because I'm starting to ramble a bit, and I'm just completely frustrated with the situation we find
I
ourselves
understand
in.
your feeling, but Tudor already shed some light on that in the pre-match conference, I think yesterday. He said that, it was a jab at Comoli, because he expressed that Como or Fabregas gets the players that he needs, meaning that he didn't get the players that he
Mhm.
needs. And I can follow him to a certain extent. So there's a viable excuse for him there too. On the other hand, Allegri was the guy who put Mandzukic on the wing at a certain point when we all thought, is this man going crazy? But you had such a good group. You had leaders. The balls that Mandzukic has, nobody has on this team. There is not somebody I would say that I would trade at this position or in a certain position for somebody back then, even though we still have technical, fairly good players. Koopmeiners technically is awesome. He doesn't show that. Why? Kenan has much more potential than what he shows. Why isn't that coming out? Even David, who's not my favorite player in the team, is a poacher. Yet he's stuck at one goal. Why? Our center backs, Ugani, he's not the worst player in the world. He's capable of doing some man-to-man defending. Why is he not performing? Nobody's performing. And that's the trick with being a coach. You have to squeeze your players out like lemons. You have to get 110% out of them. If they're a bit not as good as the rest, and you need to create a unit, a family, and a team that knows what to do on the pitch. If you look at the first 20 minutes, we didn't have a clue at what to do. Even position wise, we were headless chickens. So I blame Tudor there, but I don't only blame Tudor.
Because that's a really interesting. I mean, interesting is probably not the right adjective. I think a very solid point. Not knowing what to do, and I again at this level with this this football club and this side that costs millions, and understanding the gravity of the moment and going into every single game in which Tudor has had about 2 weeks to think about this. How do you enter the pitch without really knowing how you're going to play around what your plan is? Like, I'm watching these first 15, 20 minutes and I'm thinking to myself, if we were to create some kind of scoring chance, I don't know how it would happen other than Yildiz just pulling some magic out of his bag of tricks. It's just I don't know. Very unclear how we were trying to play and possess and approach this game. Were we going to be going through the middle and build up through the middle? Are we doing wing play? Are we trying to get the ball in uh, on the touchline? It very very unclear how we were trying to play this game against a Como whose uh, their way of playing doesn't deviate. You know how they play. Yes, they had a slightly different formation today than they normally do. They're usually in a 4-2, a 3-1 pretty predictably, switching a bit to the 3-5-1-1, but you knew how they were going to play. And you still come out flat-footed, and it takes us 30 minutes to figure out what the heck we wanted to do.
Yeah. If you take the first 20 minutes and you put them and you watch them on a part of your computer screen, you take the first 20 minutes of a random game against an equal opponent, relatable to Como, in the first year of Conte, who didn't have any world class players. Let's be honest here. We were playing with Matri and Vucinic up front. I mean, it wasn't all that different. But every player knew what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. That was clear. There were things that were shown on the pitch that you can only train on. 1-2s, dropping back, getting off your man. When you were pressured, you had two guys in the midfield stepping back, be it Vidal, who came to help. You don't see any of that. Even our corners are like, well, if we get a corner, if we're lucky enough to get one, it's just a Hail Mary. There is nothing that shows me that this team trains on certain situations that help, like Zach points out in the chat, our cohesion. We have no cohesion, we have no game plan, we have no technical and tactical flexibility. So we're very, very easy to beat or to keep away from the goal. And if we can change that, and I don't know how to do it because I'm not paid to do it. There are people that are getting paid little millions to do it. But if we can find somebody who's smart enough to figure this out, then we'll be back in the same pile of shit next year. And this is the frustration because 5 years in a row, there's only been downhill. I even think that we're team-wise, we're worse off than we were last year. I honestly think that we're worse off. What are we
It's
doing
an
with
interesting.
Openda?
Yeah.
Why is Openda there? Why? What's the point of putting Vlahovic in right now? What are we going to do with Vlahovic? What is Jonathan David doing there by himself, getting literally no passes or no chances? What are we going to do with Koopmeiners? Just keep, hoping that he wakes up out of his coma one day? Granted, he had a fairly fair game today.
He was okay. He was okay. I mean,
He
he
was
wasn't our
okay,
problem.
but that's not, we still lose.
Yeah.
Imagine,
And
imagine. I mean,
but this goes
you know,
beyond just any one player, right? Like there's a lot of comments and thanks folks for your questions and comments here in the YouTube chat. A lot of criticism of Chico, a lot of criticisms of Rugani. Um, this goes beyond just any one player performance. Nobody stood out today. We didn't. If we had a plan for this game, we certainly didn't execute it well. We weren't able to come back the way that we previously had demonstrated, that when we're behind, we play a bit better. That intensity and urgency was not there. And when the way we were playing wasn't yielding anything of consequence, there was a complete inability to read the game to understand what to do differently. To be quite honest, and to be vulnerable about it, I don't know what I would have done differently in that moment. With the players on the bench, with the system we had, where we were, I don't know what was going to change that.
but you
But it
can't.
certainly, I'm not the one getting paid millions of years
No.
and having it be my job to figure that out. And you wait until way past the 70th minute to invoke a change. And then as a direct consequence of that change, you give up the midfield and concede a second goal.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, it's your job as a coach to do that beforehand. It shouldn't be an issue that every game we need to adapt anything. I mean, you can tweak here and there, but we go, from being very defensive to all out war in 70 minutes. I mean, to me, that's the biggest issue. The game plan before the game is not thought out of. It's just not thought out of. And we can argue and we can, look past player quality and whatever. But if you don't find your cohesion, your strengths during the week in the training ground, how the hell can you expect people to execute that in a game? It's like it's all just very Hail Mary like. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'll put Chico there because Chico's fast. Like it's like he's playing FIFA where
Yeah.
the ratings, make up the strength of your team. It doesn't work like that in real life. These guys are not compatible. Our midfield is not compatible with our strikers. Our strikers amongst themselves are not compatible. Let's be honest here. And our defense, due to the injuries, but that's also another underlying issue, is not good enough to hold back opposing teams with their attacks. In all fairness, this team needs to be, dare I say it, this team needs to be built from scratch again.
We hmm. It's
I think if you look at Chico,
hard
and
to
and
argue with that,
I know a lot
given
of
what we've
people praise
seen.
Chico, Conceição. He's hopeless. He's utterly stupid football wise. He is by far one of the most stupid players, football wise, I have encountered in my life. He always makes the wrong decisions.
And
And
this is
the
why
moment that
I
he,
struggled with him last year. And I think it's he has his moments of brilliance because he is very technically gifted. He has
Mhm,
talent. There is undeniable skill in that player, but
true.
his inability to pick his head up, his constant whinging and diving is so frustrating to watch. And it's today we saw the worst of him
Yeah,
when he doesn't let the moment of brilliance
yeah.
end with a goal or setting up a goal, and it's him putting his head down and running into the ground and slipping and falling and throwing a ball out of play. He could have been carded and sent off for that. Granted, it wasn't that aggressive when he tossed the ball
No,
at the Como player, but it's just Anyway,
But
I
that's
don't want to
also
spend this
to the
time
responsibility.
blasting Chico, but
No, but I think it's to the responsibility to make the players better individually. He doesn't seem
yeah,
to
who is
succeed in
sitting
that.
down with him and telling him, you can't lose your head like this at
Yeah,
moments. Every time
yeah,
you get touched, if you're falling down, acting like someone took a chainsaw to your shins, you're never going to get any calls moving forward because you're going to develop a
no,
reputation. Like, where's
yeah,
the man management around that?
yeah.
It is shocking.
And our last podcast, or after the last game, I was very unhappy with what Tudor said post game. He praises the players. He thought they played three hell of games, the last three games. And I know, and Zach's gonna bite me in my neck for that. I know that what they say on camera doesn't necessarily, but I know for a fact that he says the same things in the dressing room. He says, "Guys, you played well, no worries, positive approach, this and that." But if you, as a player, show up for this game, and the last three games were poor, but your coach said, "No, you did a bang up job," then
Mhm.
where's the urgency, the sense of urgency for you to do even better? After those five draws, Tudor should went into the dressing room. I should have, smacked everyone against the wall, saying, "This is not Juventus. This is not how we play. This is not the mentality we need to bring on the pitch," and create that sense of urgency. But now everybody's happy, relaxed, we're laughing, even post game. They're throwing high fives and laughing like nothing happened. You just lost against Como, for fuck's sake. You haven't lost there in
6
60
games
years.
in a row without a victory
We
and
haven't
without
lost
any
at
really
Como in
convincing performance this
60
year.
years. And you're high fiving and laughing.
70, I
70
think. I
even.
think it's
I
70
mean,
years. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
and now the
Skip
undefeated Oriole has gone away.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
well, we haven't
It's
lost. We haven't lost yet. We haven't lost yet. Now we've lost. We've lost, and we've barely got any points over the last six games. So now what?
mhm.
Now what?
So one very quick thing. At some point in the not too distant future, my wife is going to show up in the driveway with her kids. I have to go help her get those kids out of the car. So I will have to step away for
No
a
worries.
minute or two. And Frederic, you'll
No
have to
worries.
continue the dialogue here. But I want to call out Skippy's point here about the game being about small moments. And they scored that second goal after we were the better team. I'd challenge if we were playing that much better at that point. But you're right. The game is made out of small moments. And it was earlier on, we were discussing how I thought the first half performance was better than Frederic's interpretation of it. I know you were, our boy Frey here was very upset with the first half. And my point being that if we had shot a bit better, or if a final ball had been better, and if we had actually scored a goal, we'd be singing a different tune. However, with the benefit of now having seen the entire match, we weren't putting ourselves in good enough positions to have those small moments, right? You play a 90-minute game so you can have one or two moments where you can score those goals. And in the second half specifically, those moments never came.
I agree with Skippy to a certain extent. Small moments, yes, but you have to be able to create those small moments as well. Because if you
Exactly.
don't
That's
get
that's the point
any
I'm trying to
ball
emphasize.
in between the posts, then you can argue, we didn't grab that opportunity. It's a pity. Small. No, the game literally is score more goals within that rectangular frame than your opponents do. And if you can't be able to get past that point and shoot a ball between that rectangular thing, then all hope is lost. It's not just about small moments. Yes, in big games, in certain games where you're 50-50, those small moments can make a difference. The fitness, your mentality, your physicality, those are the moments that can set you apart from winning or losing. But if you play 70% of a game and your first shot between the posts was around the 60-minute mark, now you can't speak about small moments. Then there are big moments that are missing in order to create small moments,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I want to go back to Zach, who is unable to be with us today live recording, but is joining in the chat, indicating if I scroll back here, is Tudor making the whole greater than the sum of its parts? And I think that's ultimately where you assess the impact of a coach. And with the squad that you have, regardless if it's a squad like Liverpool's or Real Madrid's, or your provincial side fighting to stay alive in your league, does your coach have you punch above and perform above the collection of those individuals because you know how to play to their strengths and their collective strengths, and you have a system and you can adapt? We're not seeing that. We're not seeing that
No.
at all right now.
And
And I'm going to step away for just a second.
yes, and that's another issue because we can't change players now at a certain in this time span. So what are we gonna do? We can either, and that's a good thing that Mikael just pointed out. Juve didn't win one single aerial duel in the first half, and you can argue that that's has to do with length or whatever. But if I look at the average length of the Como players, they're not that much bigger than we are. They're even smaller. But once again, mentality, placement, everything that needs to be rehearsed in order to win a game. I say, and I'm gonna be real frank here. Get Tudor out. It's the only thing you can do right now because we can't buy any players. Get him out. Because if this trend keeps continuing, we're not gonna make fourth place. And if we don't make fourth place, we're done. You can forget about Juventus for a decade. For a
Yeah.
decade at least. And these
And
are
if
just
people don't
facts.
understand why, the amount of revenue that comes in from the Champions League, I think if you get through the group, the not even the group stage, like the initial table stage, whatever the hell you want to call it, and get to the next knockout round, a team like us is getting 50 to 60 million in revenue, even if you just get there. So with that out, you can't buy players, you can't pay the wage bill. Yildiz is gone.
Yeah.
Yildiz would most likely be gone. Bremer gone.
Yeah. And the thing is, and here's a scary thing, Juventus's wage bill at this point is 128 million euros annually. Como's one is 44. And I'm not saying that the wage bill or the height or the depth of a wage bill wins games. But if you're playing against a squad whose wage bill is a third of what you put out, this difference or this shouldn't be that obvious, yet it is. And I agree with Skippy. I'm going to be close to my team. I'm not going anywhere. Agreed. I think we all share the same sentiment. But I think we all need to wake up a bit in a sense and realize that this is not on par with what we expect. I mean, we can
Yeah.
demand some quality, and some seasons might turn out good, some seasons a bit less. But if you're stuck in limbo for 5 years, and you keep switching management pawns in and out, and you keep switching coaches, and you have no clear view, then it's a bleak outcome for the future. And we can argue all you want, and I'm gonna be with Juventus even in Serie C, Serie D for all that matters, and I'll still support them. But I think it's clear that we want to move forward and we want to get back on track where we belong, because we don't belong in Serie D. We are a team that should belong in every quarterfinal of the Champions League historically. And if we fail to do that and we wait to return to that form, it's going to be a lot harder to get back to that level.
It's hard for me to, like, I'm an organized, like, structured person in my life, and like when I approach problems in personal life or at work, like being able to, like, truly be able to break it down. Like, what are the root causes? What are the areas of focus that need to be addressed in which you put a plan together? And I look at this situation, and there's some words I want to use, which I won't, given that this is live on YouTube. But the situation is just so effing complicated and confusing in that we have a coach who I think we all recognize is not getting the most out of the squad, is struggling to read matches, is struggling to put his imprint on this team and make them perform. We have a squad that is incomplete and the qualities of players don't balance and harmonize with each other. We have a management team which has turned over and started putting projects together ineffectively. And now we're at this point where we have this squad, we have this coach. And what the F do we do with it? Because replacing Tudor might get us a few more points this year, but it doesn't cover up the point that we have an incomplete, poorly constructed squad with players who aren't living up to their potential or don't have enough quality players that are of Juve quality. You can't just fire a bunch of players. We have the squad we have. And by the time January comes around, the season could be so far gone, it doesn't even matter. And then to your point, Frederic, if we are unable to get to fourth place, it's a total disaster.
Yeah.
And
Also, the fact. Sorry.
No, it's
Go
just
ahead,
like
Kev.
it's just really confounding in what are the things that need to be done in order to salvage a season. And it's really weird talking about salvaging a season when you're 9 games in, but the writing's on the wall that that's what this mission is going to be already. How do you
Yep.
salvage a season and continue forward with a strategy that builds towards a better future?
You start from the
Omali has
bottom.
a very tough job ahead of him.
Yeah, but you start from the bottom, you start afresh, but you have to have a clear and determined view because we choose Tudor because there weren't any alternatives. Okay, I'll accept that, but please, for the love of God, start looking for alternatives then. If you know that Tudor is not good enough by your standards and you choose to give him a year or whatever you have in mind, at least get together and choose a profile that matches your expectations and your views on the future. So then if the Tudor thing doesn't work, you can intervene and you could start a project that is at least focused on something and not the equivalent of a Hail Mary in terms of management. Because we're pushing
Yep.
November, we still don't have a sporting director. We have nobody that's officially in charge just for the sporting side of things. Como has one, Udinese has one, Poggibonsi and Serie C have one. We don't. Please make it make sense. Because it doesn't to me. It doesn't. And I'm a bit fortunate in the sense that I know little intricate maneuvers that Juventus do as a team, as a brand, and it's all very disorganized. It is very disorganized as a whole. And I have people working within Juventus who can confirm there is no oversight, there's no overview, there's no structure. There are even people with issues that don't know who to report these issues to because there's nobody officially appointed to deal with certain issues. And that's where it starts.
And here's a very tiny, somewhat meaningless example, but just goes to prove the point that you just made. And Frey, I think I had shared this with you earlier this season. So like, as you know, like I lived in Turin for a couple years and still have an apartment there. And the real estate agent who helped us find our apartment when I was in Italy over the summer, she shared with me that she was helping Comoli find a place to live for him and his wife. And I forget how that connection was actually made, but she was dumbfounded at how unorganized Juve were and trying to get this guy who's supposed to be the savior of our management team a place to live. They didn't have his papers done correctly. They didn't have a plan on how to get him like situated. It just little tiny detail. Like there's a phrase like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
Right. And you hire this guy and you don't have like the paperwork or the process figured out to get him situated in the city in which he'll be working. That's just exemplary of everything that's happening within this team right now.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna flip the script and pull a Uno reverse card on you. 9 years ago, when we still had a team or management, or even 10 years ago, a former Juventus player was on loan in Belgium, Luca Marrone. I don't know if you recall him.
Yeah.
Defensive midfielder. He played at Zulte Waregem. By chance of the draw, I got contacted with some people within Juventus asking me to help him out a bit because, foreign country, other language, don't know where to start. Okay, whatever. I decided to help him. I'll tell you this. Luca Marrone arrived in Belgium. Everything was ready. Taxes, papers, apartment, car, translator, fitness coach was hired in by Juventus, a Belgian one to help him because he had an injury or whatever it was called. Everything was sorted down to a T. The only thing I had to do is, show him where to get the flights, where to get where's an ATM machine, where how the practical things which everybody needs to learn. But the big picture, everything was, and he was just like a substitute player. He wasn't even playing that much at Juventus, apart from an appearance here and there in the first team. But he wasn't a pawn. It wasn't like Pirlo came to Belgium and whatever. No, it was Luca Marrone, and they had everything sorted to a T for him, management wise.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put a subpar quality player on loan in Belgium and you take the time as a management, as a club, to set him up properly the way it should be done, you fast forward 10 years later and you have your um, direttore
We're a
generale,
shell of our previous self.
arrive, and he just stands there with his hands in his pockets, doesn't know what to do, and nothing's organized. I think a question or two can be raised. And to me, it all starts from there.
I don't know how many of our listeners and people joining us here live on YouTube know the name Mina Rizuki, Italian journalist, football journalist, or at least I don't think she's actually Italian, but focuses on Italian football and has been a avid Juve supporter. She's actually been hosted on this pod. I think Farhad's had Mina on a couple times over the seasons. I remember listening to her on another podcast. This may have been 6 or 7 years ago. It was when we were still winning and on our title siege. She had been asked like why she loves Juve and what she respects about it. And her answer was not about the football. It was about, I respect well-run clubs. I respect a management team that knows what they're doing and they have a plan, and every single thing that they do is orchestrated. The left foot's marching with the right, and it's run like a tight ship. We are so far from that right now. And after a poor match, we start talking about a coach who's not up to the task. We start criticizing players who didn't show up or who aren't living up to expectations. And we can change the coach. We can bring in some new players. We can sell some players, but we're just going to be on this
Loop.
carousel of changes in loop if we don't go deeper and get a real structure and plan in place for how this club needs to be run, because we are not who we should be.
No. And I'm very happy that Kamoli's
We're
going to
the
take up.
Manchester United of Serie A right now.
We're even worse. In all fairness, we're even worse. We don't have to kid ourselves. We're even worse. And this season was a make or break season. And that's why Zach and I were very hesitant about the Tudor appointment, because Zach and I agreed on that during our scoop sessions in the summer, that this season was going to be very much make or break. And if you put your faith into a coach who hasn't ever finish the season, whether by his own choice or others, then you know what to expect. You hope for the best, but you know what to expect. And Komoli is brought in, like Skippy said, and he's going to be Direttore Generale now. Very happy. But the other roles are missing. And the roles are missing in management, the roles are missing on the pitch, and the roles are missing on the bench. So our problem is not just swap out little cogwheels and hope the machine works. Our problem is the machine as a whole. And either we fix the machine, and it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of patience, and I'm cool with that if somebody tells me this is the plan. Or we try to push out what we can with a broken machine, but we have a view on how to purchase a new one within a foreseeable amount of time. And I'm cool with that as well. But somebody needs to stand up behind a microphone and say, this is the direction we're going. These are the plans for the future. It's not going to be fun, but the results will arrive. Bear with us. I'm cool with that, but not being stuck in limbo this way and having a coach that doesn't know how to affect the team, having players don't know what to do with themselves, and having a management front office that doesn't know who's responsible for what. That I am sick and tired of. You're on mute, Kev. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I couldn't agree more, my friend. And I think Skippy in the comments saying, "Isn't that why Komoli was brought in?" And yes, I mean he the un totally officially confirmed outcome is that he will be CEO. And if you listen to Frederic, Zach, and Beppe on their session on Thursday, Comoli was brought in to succeed Scanavino. I think that was why he was brought in. And he
Yeah,
just has a tall task ahead of him. And you can't, and you had a very nice dialogue on that episode around you can't
like
assess and judge management changes and execution within the first half of the season, perhaps within an entire season, because strategy changes take time. And building a foundation upon which you can build the rest of the squad, the club, a direction, a project, the right coach, the right personnel, that takes time. The challenge is he has to balance getting that right, and I have to trust that he will in time. Albeit it is taking longer than I would like, but let's hope that that does continue. But we have to balance that with finishing at least fourth, because otherwise it is a total
yeah,
disaster. So I think just with coming up on an hour here of kind of our
yeah. I just
unfiltered thoughts, and it's just if I were to leave you kind of with one thing to close us with, um, if you're Komoli, what are you doing over the next, call it 2 to 3 weeks? What are you doing? What conversations are you having? What decisions are you making?
yeah, and I wanted to highlight Zach's question and Skippy's one as well because Zach asks if we believe in Kamal and his vision, and if you're saying Tudor isn't the dude, what's the right call? Fire it soon and get another stopgap, or wait for the right fit? I think Kamoli has the right fit already in his mind. I think Kamoli has a short list of coaches he wishes to work with at Juventus, but I think Kamoli was very much, how shall I put it, put with his back against the wall because he didn't have an official function yet. Now that you're going to be a CEO, you can make those decisions without consulting with Alcon or Modesto or Chiellini or whatever, because then you
Mhm.
officially call the shots. So I'm very eager to see what November 7th will bring and what he's going to do with that. Then to iterate on Skippy, who says that I'm cool with scenarios, but as soon as a couple of losses happen, then I'll lose it again. I'm not losing it again. You might think that I'm losing it again, but I don't think that you ever saw me lose it for real. I'm not losing it. I'm ringing the alarm bell because myself and millions of Juventus fans in and around the world just want a change. And it's not about winning or losing, it's how you produce wins and how you handle losses. And we're doing both very poorly right now, meaning that we can't grow as a team, as a club, as a brand. So this is the part of me that's frustrated. This is why I'm losing it. because the things that we're doing now, every choice we make makes it difficult for us, or
Yeah.
more difficult for us, to grow, expand, and become another side to be reckoned with after all those years in limbo. So this is my frustration, and it's not just hysterical screaming because we lost the game. Far from it. I tend to be very objective with my analysis, but I know for a fact that there are a lot of things that are moving in the wrong direction. And if we don't remedy that, this eventually will be the end of our club. And maybe not as a whole, but as a successful club. And I don't know about you, Skippy, but I've been a Juventus fan for almost 40 years now, with ups and downs, and I prefer to see my club striking fear into the hearts of opponents no matter who we play, rather than just piggybacking on somebody else's ideas and gambling and hoping for fourth place in order to get our revenues in and be financial stable-ish. That's just my opinion.
And my kind of final opinion here is Komoli needs to figure out that as what he's seen over the first 9 games, does that warrant trust in the guy who was your third choice over the course of the summer to continue forward with him? Or have you seen enough where you have to make a change because you don't have any evidence or hope that this is going to put you in a position to salvage fourth place? And what I would hate to see is for us to tread water and for us to continue forward, winning a game, drawing a game, losing a game. We're hovering in like 6th to 8th place. And then it gets to January, February, March, and it's like, shit, we do need to make a change. And then we make a change. Because
Yeah,
at that point, you could have made the change now and course corrected. And I'm not one, like, making snap decisions is rarely a wrong thing. But I would think at this point that if you were to make a change, it would not be an emotional reaction to one poor game, but the
no,
fact that Tudor was brought in as a caretaker at the end of last year, that he was your third choice option throughout the summer, and then you started the game having not seen enough improvement or hopes that it's just like it needs time, just better execution, just needs to gel, but there's glimmers of that. That if you're not seeing that in the conversations you're having with him and what you see in training is not giving those indications, I think he has to make a change. I see the
no,
name Palladino out here. Honestly, I wouldn't go that route because that's another young person. I'd look
no,
at a Mancini or even a Rafa Benitez for that matter, because those guys are not on any bench right now.
no.
Like you look at people with experience that can tighten this thing up as you clean up your house. I don't
Yeah,
want to get
and
on a
also,
Tudor out bandwagon. Like I
no, no,
don't
no,
want to do that. But it's because if this conversation has yielded anything for our listeners, it's that it's just not a Tudor problem. We have a
no.
Tudor problem, but this situation is not just a Tudor problem.
Also, I would approach it with a bit more caution in the terms of I would like to see a trainer take over the helm who can work with these players, who can see what he has as a whole and who can make it work in a formation or as a team. Is that somebody? I don't know who. I don't care, but I'd like to see somebody wintered, somebody who knows the ups and downs of football, and somebody who knows that I'm at Juventus. I can't be happy with a draw against Verona or a loss against Como, let alone the whole Real Madrid thing, the Champions League thing. I'm cool with that. But dropping points against sides like Verona and Como as Juventus is unacceptable. And I think Comoli realizes that too. And my gut feeling tells me that if we put out a shambolic performance against Real Madrid, and I'm not just talking scores here, I'm talking the performance as a whole, I think Comoli won't wait any longer in order to remedy or try to remedy the situation, because that's always a shot in the dark, getting a new coach
Yep.
in during the season. But something needs to be done. We can't continue on this slow bleed session for much longer. And
No.
it's been quite the year, and barely made it through October. So I mean,
I know it's insane, and we've got the match against an insane match against Real Madrid coming up midweek, in which, it wouldn't surprise me if that's a game we win. Like it's just it's unpredictability.
typical.
I mean, it's, but it's
I stand by my prediction. No points against Como. No points
no. If I'm
against
if I'm a
Real, and
betting
no points
man,
against
if
Nuts.
if I were to, are we going to get 1 point or no points over these next now 2 matches? I'd put my money on 0. I
And
think
then
there's an opportunity if this team shows up the way that it's played the last couple games against this Real Madrid side in their house, they will thump us.
it's a question of, is our ship still sinking, or has it sunk already? Because if you look at, what we're up against yet to come, and you look at the things we accomplished and where we are table wise, Serie A and Champions League, then I wouldn't envy the new coach, because you
No,
start with a very huge backpack taped around your neck, to be honest. And I agree with per sempre Juve. Once his team lost its Spezia from the first couple of games in the seasons, had nothing left. It's the same with
yeah,
Motta. We thrived on
yeah.
enthusiasm for the couple of games. Enthusiasm pulled us
It
through.
only
Now
gets you
it's
so
up
far.
to yeah. Now it's up to tactical ingenuity and even creative ingenuity that needs to make a difference, and we're unable to do that. And that's not only the coach's fault, that's the players' their fault, management faults. But somebody needs to pay the piper, and let's see what happens over the coming weeks, because it's gonna be one hell of a ride, that's for sure. We don't know the outcome, but it's gonna be a hefty ride.
And we will be here with you throughout all of it, good or bad. Thank you everyone who hopped on the YouTube live session. It was a pleasure to share uh and, and share our sorrows and frustrations with you. If it was later in the day, I might be having something stiffer than cup of coffee, but it's only 9:45 in the morning here on the East Coast of the US. And for those of you listening, who catching this later, again, please, it mean the world to us to get a like, a subscribe, a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're using. Thank you so much, Frederic. It was saying it was a pleasure is the topic is not a pleasure, but it's always a pleasure
No,
to speak with you, my friend.
pleasure was all mine, friend. Thank you so much for having this therapy session with me.
Fino alla fine, forza Juve.
Purple Finest.
Yeah, siamo finiti in B, gli unici a pagare per calciopoli. Yeah, e qui non ci piove, che nel cuore gli scudetti sono 29. Voglio tutto e tutti, solo per seguirti. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. Un solo grido, dalla curva si alzerà. Bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero, bianco nero. 29 volte campioni di